Ahoy there! Welcome. We had a little bit of a pre-pressing the record chat about GameStop. Not worth exploring as far as I'm concerned. I did a podcast on it earlier in the week. I've done a few podcasts this week, but it's just not worth talking about. I'm going to be focusing on the housing sector, boring old housing. I'm going to be focusing on that this week. Is what I like to discuss. Again, it came up in conversation. I found it very interesting. It's not usually looking at a specific sector is on my radar. I referred to it on some previous discussions as kind of like following Alice down the rabbit hole. When your awareness is raised of a stock or a sector, you can go and chase it. And that's what kind of where I ended up with the housing sector. It's where I ended up with solar sector last week. I just ended up just exploring it and just kind of seeing what the possibilities are out there. Anyway, we've got a full house. Great. Again, just looking down at the names again, just picking a few. Again, we've got Anthony, Adrian, Brian, Glenn. Hello, Glenn. You've said hi in the comments. And just skipping down, Nick. Vito, you're always going to get mentioned, Vito. You're right at the bottom of the list. I've not mentioned your name. Steve, new name on the list there. So if I've not mentioned your name, nothing personal, unless it is, which you know. But that's just how it is. Just saying hello to a few people. So the way that these sessions go, they're over the shoulder. Just trying to give you my thoughts and insights. Normally we'd have an education piece. As I say, I'm going to focus more on the housing sector this week rather than anything in particular. With a focus of swing trading, maybe getting paid at the end of the month is how I usually phrase these. The last several sessions, last few months, we've been focusing really on the get paid at the end of the day type of setup. That is my focus and has been for the last several months, is just literally day trading and getting paid in the first hour to 90 minutes of the trading day. That's what I'm doing. So I just want to kind of revisit a more leisurely pace, because again, I appreciate not everyone has the inclination to maybe want to day trade. If you do, we can explore it. We'll look at a few opportunities, no doubts, later on that I'm looking at today, but I would like to focus on that. So that's the way that usually the sessions unfold. A little bit of an over-the-shoulder market view, review any trades, portfolio. We're going to focus on the housing sector, and we'll finish off on, or maybe we'll also look at a few day trade stocks as well. So the usual type of formats. If you are new and this is your first time hearing my funny, strange, weird accents, I'm not a Wall Street guru. I'm not going to pretend to be. I've not worked in the city. I'm just one of those rare breed that cracked the code. I figured it out, and I want to create a production line of trading, which I want it for myself first. But it turns out that it means that great people like you who tune in every week, it means that you can kind of replicate what I'm doing on a regular basis. I'm just a regular guy. I want to help you get your success. One of my main motivations is, like, I never had anyone to ask when I started out, and I am that type of person that is helpful and chirpy, and I'll give a lot of my time and attention away in these types of sessions. And if you need some extra help, we can discuss that later. I like to relax. I like to enjoy myself, and what people might call a lifestyle trader. Doesn't mean I'm sitting on a beach, clicking away at the laptop. I like to read books, I like to drink coffee, I like to enjoy cake. I like to have a nice relaxed pace of life, and I get to do these awesome sessions and just try and give back to the community at large. I've been trading full-time since 2001, hand-drawn shots since the early 90s. All the old hands will know this. I go through it, but this is mainly for the new people, just to illustrate. It's not my first day doing this more than anything. Spent the last 20 years trading, 12 of them specializing in Forex. Had my own fund briefly for a few years, managed clients' assets of around 10 million, only a small fund by any measure. The last decade or so, I've been focused on stocks and stock options, and that's pretty much what my main focus is right now. One thing that is consistent through all of that time is I'm obsessed with helping you see similar results. That's why I do these sessions. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the week. Let's go and look at the markets, and we'll tune over to the housing sector. So broadly speaking, let's just start off with the S&P. We're looking at this right now. This is the futures. I tend to look at the futures rather than, say, SPY, the ETF, mainly because I've got a little bit of extra data. The chart doesn't gap. I can see what happens overnight. Again, we've seen big sell-off overnight. We've seen big rally overnight. Yesterday, we saw the big sell-off early in the week. We've seen the big rally. It's up a day, down a day. I don't like that type of environment. It's not really great for swing trading. It's just up a day, down a day. It has been like that with a little bit of an upward bias since last November. Up a day, down a day. The up days are a little bit bigger than the down days, although we're starting to see that change. Some of these down days are getting a little bit bigger. As we've seen this week, some people are a little bit scared about those down, big pesky red days. Broadly speaking, it's going up. Fed's got your back, baby. Stocks going to go up, buy the dip, all that usual thing. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I don't think it's anything to worry about at this stage. We're already starting to see prices turn back around. Will we see a huge monumental rally? Are we going to see these big 300, 400, 500 point days that we've seen, bouncing off the bottom? I think that type of volatility is out the equation. We're still seeing 300, 400, 500 Dow points, 20, 25, 30 S&P points, just to put them into context. And we're still seeing those types of moves. That seems to be kind of like a normal situation at the moment. So a little bit more than 1% would be in that realm of, we're doing something weird and funky, and kind of under 0.7, 0.8% for the day. That's kind of like the realm of normality. That's where we are today. That's where we've been this week. So yeah, we're seeing some big numbers. We're seeing some big moves. It's still in the realms of what a typical day is at the moment. It's not doing anything that is making me think, holy shit, the sky is falling. I'm not thinking that with this type of these types of move. Nonetheless, it's still in context. It's going up. Most people would consider this a buy the dip type of opportunity. So one of the, again, I just want to actually, before the market opens, I just want to go over to the day trade scan. One of the things, and then we'll go on to the housing sector. One of the things that I like to do on a regular basis is to sort like what's going to move today. One of the things that has shifted because of all the craziness, and again, you've seen me do this regularly over the last, again, several months, is to think about like rather than try and figure out, like, get on maybe a swing trade. It might take a few days to get going, a few weeks. One of the things that we can do is, can we get in something that is possibly going to explode today? So one of the things that could be a good indication is the volume pre-markets. Now, I've already kind of done my pre-market scan. I've got my lists segregated already. These are the top stocks that are most interesting to me. But what we can see is this is the volume. Again, bear in mind the market's not open. It's going to open in about 20 minutes. Usually about at least 30 minutes before the market opens. Usually about an hour. I can sort my stocks. Again, there's nothing really to see on the charts. We can look at the pre-market data, which you can see on the 5 minutes and the 60-minute chart here. But what we can see is that there's something really exciting going on, lots of stocks. And this could be a good indication that actually maybe there's some institutional buying, institutional selling going on with some of these stocks. So that usually is a first clue, a first footprint. Now, just because I'm looking at this primarily for a day trade type of scan doesn't mean that we can't use the same scan for a potential swing trade. And that's what we focused on the last couple of weeks as well. How do we use this day trade? Like, I don't want a day trade, but not everyone does. Not everyone wants to swing trade. I like to do both. Like, I'm not, I'll try at the moment. What I like to do is try and scalp or day trade into what could be an interesting swing trade. So I like to do a little bit of both, but you can do one, you can do the other, and we can use the same scans to find interesting things. And hopefully what you're starting to see is there's going to be a few headliners. Like right now, pharmaceutical sector is exploding, and you can see like Moderna has been in the news. It's been in the news a lot. It's traded 7 million shares, and the market's not officially open. Something interesting is going on. Maybe news, maybe there's something vaccine related. Again, I don't need to read the news to say that something interesting and weird is going on. Well, the reasons we're in earnings season, so there could be some earnings misses, earnings hits, earnings smashes. All those things. That's what else could be going on at the moment. So the other thing that I want to then see is like, okay, it's got a lot of activity, but is it moving? So the next thing I'll look at is the percentage change. So again, I can just sort the column. Again, I've already done my scan to find big volume and is there potentially going to be a big gap? And in fact, to be fair, I might just redo it just so you can see how quick this is. I like to actually, just use my software. Again, I'm only looking at 300 stocks. These are the most liquid stocks with weekly options that have an average volume of around 1 million shares. And there's a few other things to look at. So I'm just looking at this universe. I'm not looking at every stock every day, all of the time. I'm just looking the best 300 stocks. This particular list, I've also filtered it as anything over $50. It gives me about 300 stocks. That's all I'm looking at. It's not a big universe. We don't need to look at penny stocks. I'm not interested in them. I don't trade pump and dumps. Don't trade weird things. I just want to trade something that is active, tradable. It's not going to get halted if it has a $10 move. I want to trade a good stock and I want to get in at a good price. And if there's something extra interesting, so these top 50 stocks here, top 45 stocks, right there, they've got pre-markets volume greater than 70,000 shares. And there's quite a few that have 100,000 shares or more. So that's probably institutional activity. And as we say quite frequently, under normal circumstances on a day-by-day basis, this type of size of stock universe that I'm looking at, you might see 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 a push stocks that are really active with 100,000 shares or more. So right now, because of all the weirdness, it's quite regular. It's a common occurrence to see multiple stocks with 100,000 shares in the pre-market. So we're really spoiled for choice right now. And this is what makes the day trading, the profits at the open strat that we use, it makes it really attractive because at the moment there's usually something really interesting to trade that's not a GameStop, that's not a Moderna, that's not one of the headline stocks, that's not doing something weird and funky and unusual. It's not a pump and dump. These are liquid stocks. They can still be ramped and hyped and move quite strongly, but they're not going to get halted. It's not a penny stock. It's not going to crash after the move. So the next thing I want to do, now I know that these good stocks are active pre-markets. Like, are they moving pre-market? So I've already put a little break. So when I sort the column again, just like a spreadsheet, I can sort all the stocks by, are they moving? So by a percentage, is it up or down more than 1%? So I'm just going to put a little break there. You can see how quick this is. We've not looked at a chart yet. And I put a little break there. So now I can merge those lists. So the top half, and this is all I'm doing, the top half, big volume, big gaps. So now I've taken my little universe of stocks, about 300, from 300 down to 50, big volume, and those 50 I've now changed into 20 stocks. So this is the top 20 stocks that have got big volume, big gaps. These are going to be interesting today. The second list, the second tier, is these have got big volume, but maybe they are not gapping. And all we mean by that is they're jumping from yesterday's close to today's open, or right now in the pre-market. So they're moving a little bit. There's a lot of excitement and activity, but as I'm doing this, and it's always going to change, but it means that I've got a list of stocks that are super active, like Apple. Apple's doing something unusual. It's trading 2.5 million shares right now in the pre-markets. That's not normal for Apple. Maybe 20,000 shares at the moment might be kind of normal if it was kind of interesting. But again, we've already had earnings. It's probably not earnings, so something is going on there. But it's not gapping. It's not jumping. But it could mean that maybe not at the open, but later on in the day, there might be an interesting move mid-morning, maybe over lunchtime. So there could be something going on with Apple, but just maybe not at the open. So this top list of stocks just makes me think here that, there could be like a big move and it could be at the open. So then, and only then, now I've got the stocks that I need to check. Now I've got a mechanical reason to find some interesting stocks. Now, let me just pause there. Does that make sense? Could you go and replicate this later? We've not looked at a chart yet, but I've got a list of stocks that look super interesting. These are the best candidates. Yeah, great. You can go and replicate this to like later, like now, if you wanted to. And we go through this most weeks, but this is the point now where I can start saying, okay, these look interesting right now. And then I can start going looking at them and say, okay, well, is it just a day trade opportunity or is there a swing trade opportunity? So for example, QCOM right now, visually we can see it's going up. It looks like we've got a nice trend. we're retracing in the context of an uptrend. Those red bars are a retracement, a dip. As we went through last week, one of the 6 ways that we can trade in last week's workshop, if you've not seen it, go and look at it. 6 ways, the only 6 ways that we want to trade. Buy the dip is one of those. So as price is zigzagging up, we don't want to buy the rally. We want to buy the dip. So when price sells off, retraces, I can use this moving average, a 50-period moving average, to say, okay, well, it's retraced deeply enough for me to think, okay, it could be a good trade. Great. So now I want to buy the dip. So as it starts to push high, so if this stock was gapping higher, oh, look at that. It is gapping higher. If it was gapping higher with pre-market volume, then maybe that's the boom, the ignition into an explosive movement, not just a lazy, oh, it's starting to move higher move, an explosive, it's gonna go today type of move. That's what I'm looking for. So this is one of the things that's changed for me personally in the last 6-8 months because of all the weirdness that's gone on compared to how I was doing the same thing 2 or 3 years ago. I'm just looking to try and cherry pick, like, what's going to kickstart me into a trade so I can get paid today at the open in the first hour, potentially. Can't say I will or I won't. I need to look for my entry setup, but I could get a day trade entry on the 5-minute chart, say, at the open with a quick setup, and I can use that same setup to position myself on a swing trade. So if it's going to resume the uptrend, at the very least, we could be looking at a move to retest the highs over here. Again, I'm just looking for a quick move, get paid at the end of the week type of setup, or get paid at the end of the week. It may also follow through. It may carry on moving high, just like it did back here. Came back to the 50-period moving average, rallied over the next 7 to 10 days, hit that retest of the high, little bit of a follow through. So I can look at what happened last time to try and predict what's going to happen this time. It went from 110 to 130. So could there be a $20 move this time? That looks great. So what I'm thinking now is there's something more than a day trade here. That looks pretty cool to me. I like that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get a trade today, but I've tried to stack the odds in my favor. And at the open, I'm going to try and see if there's a setup. Again, on a 5-minute chart, I might have to wait 20 minutes. Usually after our session, we'll explore that in our over-the-shoulder sessions and see if we can find a trade. But this is the sort of thing that I'm looking for. Now, again, I just want to pause here. Can everyone see that it's not complex what I'm doing? It's not complex. You could replicate this quite quickly. It doesn't matter whether you've been doing this 5 minutes, 5 years, 50 years, wherever you are in your experience. It's going to start off with kind of the first step of my production line. The first step for me is a mechanical, M for mechanical, like, what's my reason for looking at a few stocks today? Because I don't want to spend hours doing this. I've got other things that I want to do today. And I would rather not spend 5 hours, 6 hours looking at chart after chart after chart and trying to force trade. And this is, I ended up kind of doing that yesterday. Like doing the same thing yesterday. I really struggled to find something to trade. I don't ever want to be in that situation. I want to go, there's the trade right there. There's the trade. This is what I'm looking for. So coming back to the list, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a buy the dip, sell the rally. One of the 6 things that we looked at last week. So the first thing is that, look at that, Novax. Yeah, this has been on our, the funny thing is we were looking at this as a potential breakout candidate. And I'm going to take satisfaction in, I'm right in my analysis, but I'm pissed off a little bit that it's gone from 130 to 220. It's just one of those things. I'm okay with not trading it because you can't predict when there's going to be an announcement, when there's going to be a little bit of news that just pushes it higher. Nonetheless, would I trade this? This is a rally in a breakout. I'm not buy rallies. It's moved too far too fast. So yeah, it's going up. It's interesting. It's got millions of shares. We can look at Intel, INTC. So usually when we're in double digits percentages, again, if we think about Intel, it went from 54 to 60. It's in excess of 10%, double digit percentages. Usually this is what happens. I've got to say there's exceptions to every rule. Tesla, exceptions to the rule. GameStop, exceptions to the rule. Weird shit goes on with those stocks. So normally, if there's a greater than double-digit percentage, this is what normally happens. There may be a little bit of oomph, but the reality is it's probably going to pause. It's probably going to retrace a little bit. Not necessarily gap fill. Don't think that you're always going to get the gap fill, but usually price rests like here. Well, after a gap, it usually pauses. So that's normally. So that's what I mean by NVAX. Missed a bit both on this one. I'm not going to worry about it. Maybe I get the retest. Maybe I get a retracement. Maybe the news turns out to be a load of nonsense. We've seen that. We're going to see that with GameStop. It's going to come to an end. Same with Moderna. mRNA, we've got a big gap, big percentage, generally the pharmaceutical sector, something weird, funky going on because of everything that's going on. It's acting and behaving a little bit weirdly, but it's doing something a little bit odd and unusual. SWKS, Skyworks Solution. Now, this is one of those exceptions to the rule. We've got a gap. We've got a lovely pre-market consolidation. Looking at the trend, we've got a little bit of a breakout, start of a new trend. We're gapping above multiple red days. So this looks like anyone who's short's going to want to cover. That could be creating a lot of at the open interest. So yeah, we've got a little bit of a double-digit percentage, but the context makes it interesting. I'll keep an eye on it. What I'd look for here is at the open, just a very quick push higher. And then we're probably going to see what we just saw in Intel. It's probably going to sell off later on in the day. That's what I would expect most of the time. Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Just picking up on your comment there. Netflix did the same thing, FNLX. So we can see that just because we get the big gap, it doesn't mean that it's an automatic go situation. Again, to be fair, we were looking for the continuation, but what we were waiting for is that pause, that rest for maybe 2-3 days, maybe a week, maybe 7 to 10 days, just to rest and hold those highs and then take off like a freight train. That we're looking for the next leg of the movements. So it's not an automatic buy. So when we get those double-digit percentages, it just reinforces we found more that have paused or rested or retraced in the last few days than have actually exploded onwards. Again, the explosion onwards when we get a double-digit percentage gap, it's the exception. It's not going to happen on a regular basis. But nonetheless, we've just got to factor in. So if I was going to do something, if I had to do anything on these, I'd probably be thinking bearish. Again, I don't like trading counter trend, so I don't do it. I like to trade the gap and goes. I don't like to fade the gap. But anyway, personal preference. BNTX, again, we've got a lovely little setup here. So we've got a 6% move, same sector, 100,000 shares. Good example here. We're gapping out of a consolidation. We're going to be gapping to about here. And we've got lovely bit of, in fact, no, it's 116. We're going to be gapping to about there. So nice gap. Looking left across the chart and then up, we've got wiggle room. We've got potential to 130. So we're going to gap. We've got potential go opportunity. So BNTX looks like the best opportunity. Based on what we've seen so far, does this look like it's got the best potential? We've got an interesting gap. We've got gapping from a consolidation. Where could it go to? It's got space to move. But we've not got an explosive gap. The move's not happening. Like NVAX, 50%, it's 50% up. Like, yeah, sure, there may be some follow through, but you're rolling the dice. It's a lottery ticket. You may get, like GameStop, you may get lucky. You may get lucky. And if you do, that's awesome. But I'm looking for replicatable patterns that happen most days. This is what happens most days. Yeah, absolutely. I'm picking on my comment there. SE looked the same. It did exactly what we thought it was going to do. But yeah, it's the same type of setup. So then I can take that stock, BNTX, and I can add that to the watch list. So I'm going to keep an eye on BNTX. I think I've already got it on the watch list, actually. BNTX, there we go. So I can just add that to my watch list. So I'm going to look at that later on after the market opens. But again, it's very simple. It's very relaxed, very straightforward. Again, LLY. We've got a big gap here. You can see that on the 5-minute charts. We've got pre-market activity. But the context is different here. We've got a rally higher. It's gapping up in the context of an uptrend. I think for a swing trade, I think I'm going to say I've missed the boat on this. It's still great for a day trade. It's gapping in the direction of a trend. Just like it did here, we've got that rally retracement and then it gapped higher. We could see some continuation. I don't think I'd worry about getting on a swing trade. And all I mean by a swing trade is a trade that might last for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe a week, 7 to 10 days. I'm not going to hold it for a couple of weeks because you're buying the rally, buying the run. What would have been a better opportunity is as it comes back to the 20 period move, you can just, it's dotted, but you got the 20 period move on average, you got the 50, you got the 200. This is possibly an early stage trend. The average prices are just crossing over. If this is going to be a sustainable trend, again, if we just think about the context of swing trades, this is the first push. Wait for the retracements, wait for a deep retracements, wait for enough time to have gone by, or wait for enough depth in price to have happened. And all we mean by that, you can use, say, a 20 period or when the 50 period, when those two, when price catches up with the average price, that might be a good time, and it will happen in depth of retracement or over a period of time. So if there's going to be a good trend, they're going to last for weeks, they're going to last for months, they're going to last potentially for years. So you don't have to worry about getting the first leg of the movements. Wait for the retracements. So I'm not going to chase it with a swing trade. There's great day trade opportunity. Pop it on the watch list, have the day trade. Let's do that. So this is how we're finding opportunities. But now LLY, my awareness is raised. It's not a today trade from a swing trade point of view, but it's certainly a maybe trade. I'm going to keep an eye on it next week, next month, maybe for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And when that retracement happens, I'm going to be ready. My awareness has been raised because, hey, something interesting is happening right now. I can have the day trade. I can take the short-term profits. But I'm also, well, actually, this stock looks really cool for more than a day trade, more than a swing trade. It's just the swing trade on this occasion is not today. Does that make sense? Well, let me just pause there again before we get the opening bell. But that's what we're looking for. And again, while you're just chatting and popping some comments in there, I just want to kind of show the speed at which I'm doing this. I'm just quite literally going through the list. It happens very fast. I'm looking for those same opportunities that we're always looking for. It takes longer to explain than to actually do. Where's price gapping to, price gapping from? I'm trying to illustrate. I am not spending hours looking through charts. This should take 5 to 15 minutes. Just going to go back to 1 or 2. So you'll skip over. And what I'm catching myself, my brain's just saying something interesting. Something interesting might be on that one. Something interesting might be there. I've already got these on watch lists. I'm already looking at these stocks, so I'm just not adding them. But all I'm looking at is, and then we're on to the secondary list, the big volume but small gap is what I'm looking at here. The market opens. So again, just trying to show you the speed with which I'm going through this. I'm not spending hours doing this. I'm not flicking through chart after chart. Is it gapping to anywhere or from anywhere interesting? Is it doing something that is super exciting? Is there more than just a swing trade? Is it to somewhere or from there? Walmart catches my attention. It's just gapping lower. We've got a consolidation. Now it's not gapping past supports, but what if it trades through supports? Walmart could be an interesting bearish trade. Maybe it's in the range. Again, remember, one of those 6 ways of trading last week that we went through, 6 of the best, it was called, last week's workshop, we're at the range low. What if there is a rejection at the range low? Because again, we've got the short-term range. What if the opportunity, we've got a good, maybe it trades below, we get the breakout. If it turns at this level, false breakout, we could call it. Maybe it trades up to $48 to $148. I would park this under a get paid at the end of the week strategy. I'd be looking at the 60-minute chart and just kind of do what we've just done, refine the trade and see if it turns around. So this looks interesting, looks really interesting. Again, not necessarily because it's gapping out, but because I recognize one of the 6 phases of the trends that we look for. So again, it might not be a day trade today. It could set up tomorrow. I'll wait for the breakout. I've got a good each way trading opportunity. So again, just to highlight the speed with which I'm doing this, I can go through 50 stocks even. I can go through 50 stocks very quickly. Again, I'm just looking for one of those 6 things that we looked at last week. Again, Tesla catches my attention. Why? It's just dinged off the 20-period moving average, $800, range low. moving from the range low to range high. It could go from $800 to $900. It could do that in a morning. Tesla looks super interesting. Again, for the day trade, maybe a get paid at the end of the week. Again, I appreciate it's Friday. It's just a metaphor. But, just a short term 2-3 day swing trade is what could happen. Again, these things do happen regularly. Will it happen today? Again, catch up on the comments. Everyone's kind of in agreement. GameStop's up 100%, Tony's saying. But yeah, it's just looking for those interesting scenarios. Again, going to stop on C. Can everyone see that we've got a nice trend? We've got a deep retracement. It's coming back to the 50. Validate it. Look left across the chart. Oh, it's stopped here before. Great. That looks like a good stopping point. It's not a today trade. I'm thinking this could be a great buy the dip for the swing. If it starts to move higher above prior red day highs, or it gives us another one of our 9 entry patterns, it might swing from, where are we, 60 to 70. It's a nice $10 move on a $60 stock. Pop it on your watch list. It's not a today trade, not even a tomorrow trade. It might be, but it's certainly enough to look interesting. We've got huge pre-market volume. Something interesting is going on. It's not gapping, so the chances of it going today a little bit lower. Doesn't mean it can't or it won't. It might go later today, lunchtime or an afternoon setup, just because we've not got the gap. But it's certainly going to be interesting. It looks good for the swing. Let me pause there. Microsoft. This is doing what Netflix did, jumping out of a consolidation, breakouts, pullback, looking for the continuation. It's not a today trade, but Microsoft looks awesome. Absolutely awesome. Is everyone happy with that? The scanning for stocks. I remember, I always like to go through this, how I do this. And it's one of those things that I freely give away. Like how to find something to trade. Because this is the single biggest question that was on my mind. When I was 19, I had a job in Blockbuster Video. Yeah, I know, back in the day. Who would have thought Blockbuster Video? A sunny Sunday morning, I was on my 3rd reading of what was it called? Jack Schwager on Futures, a technical analysis book, a 1,000-page book, tomb of a book, huge. Reading it again, I was halfway through. I remember it vividly. It was when I had one of those like sun through the clouds moments, my epiphany, little light bulb appeared above my head. And it was an epiphany. It was like at no point in any of these textbooks does it say how to find a stock or how to trade the stock. It just tells you this is what the pattern looks like after it's happened. I don't want to know what it looks like after it's happened. I want to know what to trade before it happens. And none of the textbooks ever tell you. They never tell you. So that was the biggest question on my mind. Okay, I know what it looks like afterwards. What does it look like before? That's what you've got now. What does it look like before? Because that's when we're interested. I don't care what it looked like afterwards. Show me before. That's what we've just been through. Woo! Soapbox rant over. Soapbox rant over. So we've got good, we've got a good way of finding things to trade every week, every day. There's something to look at. Yesterday, I've got to admit, despite going through that process, nothing really excited me. So there's always going to be a day where, you know what, the market's doing something weird. That was, for me, that was yesterday. We found great swing trade opportunities. There was things that we can come back in a day or 2 or 3 or maybe next week that could be interesting. PayPal's one of those, Square's one of those. We looked at some of those just a moment ago. There's something interesting going on. It's not giving you something to do today. And that's okay. There's going to be days like that. So with that said, let's jump over to, I think I've caught up on all the questions. I maybe even accidentally answered some of them before calling them out. Let's think about, again, just for a change, one of the reasons why I'm looking at the housing sector is I was asked a few questions about the housing sector, and unsurprisingly, and it just got me thinking, what's in it, what's going on? And a couple of weeks ago, we explored on the podcast, chasing Alice down the rabbit hole, just a little bit of a concept. My normal process, my normal routine, as you've just seen, is I want to zero in on what I'm going to trade today. And it takes longer to explain than to actually do it. It should take 5 to 10 minutes. Here's 3 things that we're going to trade today. We've got that list taken care of. But sometimes we may want to explore. What you may notice is solar stocks keep coming up on this watch list. There's something interesting going on the solar sector. Maybe banking stocks keep coming up on the watch list. That happened last week. But why banking stocks why do banking stocks keep coming up? Maybe something interesting is going on in the banking sector. So that's what I can ask. So this is what kind of prompted the thoughts. Someone's asking me about the housing stocks. What is my view on certain stocks? And maybe as you're scanning through, some housing stock keep coming up as a regular thing on the on your scan, on this scan, either for a day trade or swing trade. It keeps coming up. So what we can do is from time to time, you will want to dive a little bit deeper. This is the sort of thing that if I've got an hour over the weekend, this is the sort of thing I'll do. So we've gone from one extreme. How do I zero in on something today? Here's 3 stocks to trade. Great. Let's see if we get the setup. And if we get a trade, great. If we don't, that's okay too. But then the other end of the spectrum is, I think I'd like to chase Alice down the rabbit hole. I'd like to explore a thought, an idea, a hypothesis, a theory. In this case, we're going to explore a sector. And it just means that we can look at a few charts, we can ask a few questions, we can apply a Socratic method of what else is in the sector. Okay, first, for example, solar, first solars came up. Okay, great. What else is in the solar sector? Maybe we go and look at Canadian solar. Maybe we go and look at some others. Maybe we go and look at the ancillary sectors, the supporting sectors. So this is kind of what prompted the idea to go and look at the housing sector. Okay, what's in it? We've got, and here's one I prepared earlier. What have we got in the housing sector? That's kind of where I'm at. That's what's prompting. So my platform's just frozen for a second. So that's what's prompting this thought. I got asked several times, what in the sector? We've got mortgage companies, mortgage insurers, we've got mortgage tech, we've got home builders, we've got real estate brokers, we've got NBS Investor. I don't know what they are. I don't care what they are. Title insurers. We've got services, real estate managements, something called GSEs. Again, if you're familiar with the sector, great. I am not. This is brand new for me, and that's okay. I don't normally go through a sector in this detail, but maybe you do. Maybe you like to, let's just see what's available. Let's look at the sector. So all you need to do is it might be that you start with Google and you go to Google and you say, okay, I know that this particular stock, let's just say Len, you've got Lennar Corp. Oh, I have heard of that name. And they do this, they're a home building company. Okay, great. And then another stock comes up on the scan because it's big percentage mover. You got the high volume. Oh, I've got another home builder. Oh, that's strange. Maybe there's something interesting going on in home building. That's the thought. So chase it. And it's okay to do it. Most of the time, I just like to zoom in. I don't care what the name is. I don't care what the sector is. It's like, it's moving. Let's get on it. But maybe you want to explore. Maybe you want to kind of go through this. I think this looks good. This looks cool. This looks interesting. So go to Google. Just quite literally type the company name as your seed. And Google very awesomely gives you competitors. And you can quite literally go and look at the ETFs. You'll get, if you type real estate ETF, home builder ETF, mortgage ETF, you're going to come back with a list of ETFs. Why ETFs? Again, just you can get the description of a lot of these. So why ETFs? Because then you can start saying, okay, what's the components of XYZ ETF? And you get a list of stocks. And what you'll find is you'll have a home builder ETF, you'll have a mortgage tech ETF, you'll have a real estate broker ETF. You can start to piggyback off other people's work because it means you don't have to do it. Again, I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to that. I don't know enough about the sector just from general knowledge to be able to explore it. So again, it's very easy to find. So that's how I came up with these types of lists. They're going to be broken down. So what we can start thinking about is what looks interesting. So whenever I'm first looking at stocks, again, just as a quick reminder, last week we went through 6 of the best. I'm looking for a stock that's zigzagging up or are looking for a stock that's zigzagging down, guess what that's called? An uptrend or a downtrend. We went through this last week in 6 the best. The other thing that I'm looking for is it zigzagging sideways? We'll call that a range, because I can trade the range up or down, or I can wait for the breakout of the range, also up or down. So 1, uptrend, 2, downtrend, 3 is the range. I can trade the range breakout, 4, bearish range breakout, and then we've got 5 and 6, range reversal off the low or the high. So that's 6 of the best. We went through that in a lot of detail last week. If you want to revisit it, it's up on YouTube. Just go to my YouTube channel and you'll be there. You can probably search AntiVestor and it'll come up. But that's 6 of the best. So that's what I'm looking for. So this first pass through, I'm looking for something interesting. So what we have here, we've got the first half of the chart's going up. Second half of the chart is very clearly going sideways. Where's price right now? Oh, it has peekabooed above the high of the range. Breakouts, pullback setup. So if it goes above that high there, maybe I can get an entry on around about $90, because again, it's the first time it's moving higher in several months. This is what we call a breakout. It's doing one of the 6 things. That could be good, could be interesting. So this is what I'm going to look for. That's the lens that I'm looking through things. So what I can do, again, same process as before. I can start to say what looks interesting. So as I'm going through this, I'd say I'd like to see, 8, 12 months data. This is a recent IPO. This is Rockets. Whatever they do, mortgage company. But we've got a very clear range. So I personally wouldn't trade. I would like to see price above the IPO level. It's about here. Okay, cool. So the IPO, again, I know that because I've got lots of space here. It's an IPO. So I'd like to see price move higher. I want to see it break out. Because this is a relatively new to the stock market, maybe I just want to wait for the first pullback to happen and then get the second one. Wait for that second retracement, because it's a newer stock, it's unproven, and there might be a little bit of time before it starts to be seen as a good investment and it brings in the institutional money flow. So maybe I wait for the first pullback to happen, trade the second pullback. That's okay, just because I've got a little bit less data. But I'm looking for that structure, the context, the one of the 6 ways to trade. It's in a range. Wait for it. I can either trade the range low, the range high, or wait for the breakouts. You know what? Typically, the move into the range about 65% of the time determines the direction of the breakouts. So I can wait for the breakouts, or I can trade the range low. Well, right now we're in the middle of the range. We're not at the range low. I'll be a buyer at $50, or I'll wait for the breakouts. So one of those 2 things happens. Come back tomorrow. I don't need to worry about it. So that's what I'm looking for. 6 things. Oh, there we go. Looking back on this one, FBC, this looks interesting. We've had the breakouts. We've got first pullback, second pullback, multiple pullbacks. We've got a lovely rally. We're back at the 20-period moving average. So there could be an opportunity to buy the dip. Not a today trade. Remember, we're on the daily chart. This is a swing trade, but this looks super interesting. What happened last time it touched the 20-period moving average? Well, it rested for a few days, We saw a little bit of a spiky wicky candle. So maybe I wait for one of those. It needs to pause for a few days, and then I can start thinking about a trade. And all I'm doing is what happened last time. This isn't rocket science, but suddenly this looks interesting. So maybe I can start thinking about having a little trade, small trade on several stocks in the sector. And if you don't want to trade several stocks in the sector, you can go and look at the ETF, which is already a component that has several stocks in the sector. Coop looks interesting. Ooh, why does it look interesting? We've got this time retracement. It's not a deep retracement, but over a period of time, it's meandered sideways. Has it done it before? Where it's rested for a week or 2 or 3. It's done it 1, 2, 3 times. This is the 4th time. Is it going to stop here, or is it going to move higher? Looks interesting. What do you think? Now, I would never have been aware of this stock. This is Coop. This is Mr. Cooper's group. I'm not saying it's not a today trade. It's not something I'm going to put on right this second, but I'm going to keep an eye on this over the next few days. Again, I'm just explaining what I'm doing, but it's just, again, following from last week, just some practical examples of like one of the 6 things that we're looking for. And again, I would never have probably thought about I'm just going to explore the housing, the real estate sector. I'm just looking for what are the best looking candidates in the sector. We found one or two mortgage companies that look really interesting. Mortgage insurers, you just saw me zip through them. Nothing exciting in mortgage insurers. Mortgage tech is what we're on now. Again, we've got a couple of choices here. Kind of interesting. It's not really fitting that category. One of the 6 trends. Oh, this looks awful. This is core logic. This looks awful. It explodes and then it rests for 3, 4, 5 months. That's not an attractive looking stock. I'm looking for a good opportunity. Now, Black Knight looks interesting. Not only are we seeing a time retracement, but and it's going sideways, but we're seeing a deep retracement. We're back at this 200 period moving average. So we've got to ask ourselves, like, is the trend changing, or is this an absolutely awesome buy the dip opportunity? Because this is typically, why are we looking at the 200 period moving average? Because typically investors, people who are thinking longer term, they will typically look at the 200 period moving average and look to buy at or near the 200 period moving average. So maybe they're going to look for a rally off. Maybe they're going to wait for it to flag and pause briefly, like it did over here. Rallied off, the 20 in this case, flag a little bit, and then get the next thing. So maybe they're going to wait for that same pattern that we see here over there. And that's going to be an investing type setup for maybe several months, maybe even going to years. That could be their opportunity. So that makes it interesting to me as a short-term trader. Maybe I can just capture the get paid at the end of the month. And if I like it to invest, I'm not an investor. I don't think that way. It's not my style of trading. But if it is, then this is something that looks really interesting for that style of trading. So just because we're looking at a sector, and I'm thinking about my own style of trading, you can use the same principles to find opportunities that suit your preferred style. I hope everyone sees this. I mean, just because I'm going to put my trades on in one way. Again, we've already looked at Len. We've got the very clear breakout pullback. This is a good opportunity. Buy the break to a new high. NVR, same deal. We've got home builders looks, again, I've already been through these, but home builders looks super exciting. Super exciting. Breakout pullback. It could be looking at the start of a new trend. It's looking great. PHM, guess what? It's doing something similar, but we're right back in the kind of the middle of the range. I'd be a little bit less excited about this one. I'll probably be waiting for it to go back above $50 before I got excited on PHM. It's out of context. It's out of that sequence that we're looking for. Again, let's just go back to PHM. My apologies, not PHM, NVR. That's what we're looking for. I want to see it break the range, breakout, pullback. I want to see it hold the range high and then continue. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. So it's out of context. Does this make sense, folks? But again, I can look for those opportunities. And again, just very quickly. So again, just to kind of show you the speed with which we might do this. Again, Toll looks super interesting. Generally, a lot of the home builders looks absolutely great. This doesn't. This one, we don't buy rallies. We've got the push higher. Wait for the retracements. Don't buy rallies. Wait for the retracement. You're going to miss the initial part of the move. That's okay. Buy the dip. It doesn't look great, this one. KBH. Again, oh, this looks interesting. We've got the breakout. We've got the pullback. You know, it's looking good. Buy the break to a new high. So really simple. When you've got a structure, again, not great. It's out of context. And we're looking for one of those 6 things, 6 ways through. We went through it last week. Oh, look at this. Buy the dip. It's rallying. It's retracing. This is your buy the dip opportunity. And it looks like it's doing something new. So although it's pointing up, it has been contained in a very narrow angled consolidation. We've got a huge breakout move, retracements. This looks good. This looks like a great start to a new trend. Looks super interesting. It's in context. Let's look at the next stock. Looking very similar. So the home building sector is looking supercharged to move higher. There's some stocks in it that don't look great as we're skipping over. Again, but some of these look absolutely amazing. Again, this one, not so good. We're out of context. We may be looking at a deeper retracements. XHB. This is the Home Builders ETF. So if you don't want to look at the individual stocks and you don't want to trade several individual stocks, then XHB, the ETF, which is a composite, is going to give you something comparable. So you've got that break of that rising channel there. It looks like it's going to go. This all makes sense, folks. So again, we can find these stocks. Google is our friend. I spent maybe 20, 30 minutes just going through what other stocks are in the home building sector, what other sectors are available. And this was new to me. I didn't know that there was mortgage tech companies. I really didn't. I'm not going to pretend. I'm going to ignore penny stocks. We've got one or two on the list. We've even got Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac here. But it's nice and simple. I've got about 70 stocks here. If you want a copy of this list, just send me an email and I'll just copy and paste it. But we've got good sector, but I'm really liking the sector as a whole. It's looking great. This is a great example of a dud stock. This is an ETF. It's horrible. It does not look great. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. These are MBS investors. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. These are all examples of what not to trade. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Sometimes looking at some stocks of like, I'm definitely not trading this. Leave it alone. Don't try and force it. It's going to go up, but I think we've seen way better stocks. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. We get the point. Leave it alone. Don't worry about it. Leave it alone. We've seen better stocks. So these are all, so what we know is the subsector of NBS investors looks absolutely awful. Leave it alone. Don't worry about it. Leave it alone. We've seen better stocks. So for me, home builders looks absolutely awesome. A little bit better in title insurers. It's not great, but it's not fabulous compared to some of the other things that we've seen. And again, just coming back, just last couple of stocks now. Again, we've been through the entire list. You can see how quick we go through this. We should be able to make quick. Again, another example, just leave it alone. It's $3.50 for a reason. It's a penny stock. Leave it alone. It's not going anywhere. It's dead in the water. Again, leave it alone. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac to finish on, because why not? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, leave it alone. It's awful. Leave it alone. It looks awful. So hopefully we can see examples of what we're looking for. Stocks that the kind, like maybe next month or maybe even next year. We've seen some of those. But coming back to home builders, I mean, clearly, if we think about the sector, if we could just trade one sector, home builders, and we found maybe 4 or 5 stocks that look absolutely awesome, then maybe not today trades, but they're possibly tomorrow or the day after, or maybe in a few days' time type of trades. So we've got some great candidates in the home building sector. And it all starts with, you spot them with our scan. Again, just going back to why we started with the scan. You're going to, like last week and the week before, doing this day trade scan highlighted the solar sector. So I did this with the solar sector. Oh, the solar stocks keep coming up. They're on my list. Great. Okay. What else is in the solar sector? Is it solar generators? Is it solar manufacturers? Are they installers? All the things that go into a solar sector. And all you need to do is, when you can see a theme or a trend, actually, there's lots of banking stocks 2 weeks ago. Like the banking sector was looking super interesting. Okay, great. Now I know that like several of the same stocks, either today or over the last 2 or 3 days. Hey, this stock keeps coming up on my list. Is it just this stock, or is the sector really exciting? That could give you an awesome opportunity to build a little portfolio in a sector and create kind of like an index built up of individual stocks. Or if you just want to keep it simple, just trade the ETF. You can start thinking along those lines, and you end up with again some really nice candidates. So chasing Alex down the rabbit hole. Hopefully it's a good example, a good illustration of like, when do you dig a little bit deeper? When are you going to spend maybe an hour doing this over the weekend? When you spot a theme, when you spot those stocks that keep reoccurring in a sector, and you pick that up over time. Is it essential to do? No. Personally, it's not something that I do frequently. But from time to time, it might just be worth it. Again, we found 5 or 6 stocks in the one sector that look awesome. I did the same with solar. I've done the same with banking. I've got 3 sectors, and I've picked what I believe are the best looking charts out there for not just a day trade, but maybe a swing trade. Maybe, if you want to think, multiple months to the end of the year type of trade, you've got more than just a day trade. But it all starts with what's explosive today. And the same scans can be used whether you want a day trade, get paid at the end of the day, at the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the quarter. If you want to get paid at the end of the year with a longer term time horizon, maybe on the weekly charts, it can all start with the same scan. What's like really exciting today or really exciting this week, because it's been on that list several times. So I hope that's kind of like the theme that I want to take, not necessarily because it's the housing sector, it was just used as an example, but this is a time where you can spend a little bit of extra time if you've got it available, and under the provision of if you want to. You don't have to. I don't normally do it, but it was just an interesting thought exercise, because I know some people like to explore different things. Like, I don't like reading fundamentals. I find it absolutely boring. That influences the way that I do my research, as you've seen earlier. But some people do. Some people really like reading fundamental reports. I don't. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just you've got to do what's right for you, and hopefully just give you some inspiration for, like, when's a good time to explore a sector? When's a good time to explore a sector? I mean, if, for example, Zoom keeps coming up on your list, maybe you start exploring the communication sector as a whole, digital communication, old school communication, mail order business, I don't know. But you can start to explore, refer to it as chasing Alice down the rabbit hole. Again, we just used the housing sector to explore that possibility. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. If you're expecting a sales pitch, I won't disappoint. It'll take 2 minutes. But if you do need some extra help and you want to learn a process, this process for day trading, swing trading, I do both of these things. If you want to learn in the smartest possible way, send me a message. Like, I don't know if what I do is right for you. Typically, I have one simple pattern for the day trade. We've got 9 variations of that pattern. The only difference, as you saw before, is it's the context of the setup. But really, I'm just trading one pattern. The TTE management system is the real secret to success. Time out, target out, exit out. We've spoken about that on different days, different workshops. But if you want to master trading, if you want my help with that, if you think I'm the person to help you, firstly, thank you. If you'd like to talk about it a little more, send me a message. What I promise you is you'll never be stressing over whether the market's going up or down. You should be able to profit in both directions, and you'll never spend hours flicking through chart after chart after chart. Even when you're exploring a sector, it shouldn't take you more than an hour, even if you want to dig a little bit deeper. And again, if you don't want to read company reports, you don't have to. If you enjoy doing it, that's okay. I personally don't, but I just want to zero in on what I'm trading today. And that's what I do 99% of the time. Anyway, if you'd like to explore that, let's start the conversation. As I said earlier, I don't know if what I do is right for you. We can have a chat, send me an email. You can go to the main website, AntiVestor.com, and you can choose your own adventure. If you need help with the basics and you want to know what a chart is and some of the things that we've looked at today, then maybe that's where you start. If you want help with the day trading strategy, you can go to the I need help with day trading. And if you want to go straight to the swing trade because maybe you don't have time to day trade, that's okay as well. We've got how to do this from the day trading perspective. So you can choose your own adventure. I do all of these. That's what I do. What my focus on at the moment is the day trading, and we typically have a live session every day, at least 3 times a week. So you can kind of do this, look over my shoulder as I'm trading. You can follow along, see how it's done in real time, and you get to experience just a little bit of that every week in these workshops. Anyway, that's my unabashed promotion. If you need help with it, by all means, send me a message. But until next week, that was the housing sector, and that was chasing Alice down the rabbit hole to find interesting stocks in a particular sector. Woo, it's a wrap. End scene, fade to black.